Tonight, a savage hate crime attack on a train. 2 men targeted and bashed. Breaking news on the US helicopter tragedy. An injured Marine rushed to Melbourne. Soccer's notorious bucket thug sentenced to jail over a shock pitch invasion. Federal politicians score a big pay rise as voters battle the cost of living crisis. CSIRO's weight loss wonder diet joins the ready-made meal revolution. And a Bulldog star in demand and in limbo as fans scramble for tickets in a finals crunch.
Live from Melbourne, 7 News with Peter Mitchell starts now.
Good evening. 2 men are recovering after they were bashed on a packed train in what they describe as a homophobic hate crime. The pair ended up in hospital after they were targeted by 6 thugs on the Frankston line, but no one stepped in to help.
Back at work after a savage attack that has changed Michael Robley's life forever.
Saturated in blood, scared.
Last Saturday, the 43-year-old and his partner Lee left the MCG and got a train home from Richmond. They'd been on the train for just 5 minutes when 6 youths surrounded them.
They were calling us faggot, telling us to, go on then, you faggots kiss, hold hands, just sort of antagonistic homophobic sort of comments.
Then it got physical.
They were sort of beating into Lee, punching him, pushing him. There was like 6 of them, and a guy picked up a bottle and a wine bottle and threw it at my head. He smashed me in the face and I sort of fell backwards, blood was pouring out of my head.
It was just after 8 p.m. The train was packed. No one stepped in to stop it. Mr. Robley managed to call for help.
Sort of pushed past them and pressed the emergency button.
The train then stopped at Caulfield Station. There, the pair was met by police and paramedics before being taken to hospital.
I've had surgery to remove glass out of my facial muscles and spent 3 days in hospital.
The attackers still haven't been caught.
Over the past 12 months, we've seen an increase in calls from community who have experienced this kind of violence and abuse.
It was terrifying. I'd hate for this to happen to someone else.
And Sarah Jones has the latest on the attack. Sarah, police are now investigating.
Mitch, no arrests have been made, but there is plenty of evidence. 7 News understands there is CCTV of the alleged attackers getting off the train. The victims say they all had foreign accents, dark skin, and are all aged in their late teens to early 20s. Mitch?
Sarah Jones at Police Headquarters, thank you. There's breaking news tonight on the US Marine tragedy, with one of the injured soldiers flown to Melbourne for specialist treatment. Rochelle Brown is at the Alfred Hospital, and Rochelle, he's just arrived after a marathon mercy mission.
Mitch, the care flight touched down at Essendon Airport just after 3 o'clock this afternoon with a patient injured in that Osprey crush on board. Multiple paramedics assisted in what was a delicate operation to load the man into a stretcher and onto a waiting ambulance. The man in his 20s is one of 20 survivors. As we understand, 2 Marines remain in Darwin Hospital. Military authorities have now released the identities of the 3 US Marines killed in the crash. Survivors paid tribute to the fallen Marines overnight with a candlelight vigil in Darwin. Their bodies will be repatriated back to the United States on a flight from Darwin tonight. Mitch?
Rochelle Brown at the Alfred Hospital, thank you. The Andrews government is facing new accusations of secrecy over its Commonwealth Games fiasco, with regional councils claiming they were forced to sign gag agreements. They've told a Senate inquiry they were kept in the dark and ignored.
The Commonwealth Games was meant to showcase regional Victoria, but a Senate inquiry has been told it came with very little regional input.
There was a sense that actually the regions are being a bit ignored here, that this is government decision-making that is based out of the Melbourne bureaucracy, telling regional Victoria what is best for you.
Well, the Committee for Ballarat were not paying for the Games. The Committee for Ballarat were making precisely zero contribution to the cost of the Games.
It seems the Premier is prepared to dismiss anybody who says anything that doesn't back him in.
And now the Andrews government has been accused of forcing councils to sign gag orders.
To expect our CEO to sign a non-disclosure agreement that prohibits him from sharing all relevant information with the councillor group is a disgrace.
All CEOs were, I wouldn't say encouraged, they were more forced. If you wanted to be part of the conversation, you had to sign those agreements.
The Premier and his deputy today dismissed the inquiry. They declined to attend.
Instead of this political stunt, why don't you get back to Canberra and vote for the Housing Australia Future Fund so that tens of thousands of houses can be built right across our nation.
This Senate inquiry is all a political stunt led by Senator Bridget McKenzie.
Wow. Well, wow. Okay. Well, Jacinta.
When the Premier was asked if his government requested a confidentiality clause around the Games' $380 million settlement, Daniel Andrews insisted it wasn't his call, rather a part of all negotiations.
Nothing more, nothing less. Seriously, there's nothing more or less to this. It's a standard provision.
Chanel Vella, 7 News.
A violent soccer hooligan has been jailed for his part in an ugly Amy Park pitch invasion. The 23-year-old threw a metal bucket at the Melbourne City goalkeeper, causing permanent injuries.
Alex Angelopoulos has been found to be the worst offender in one of the most shameful incidents in Australian sport. In December last year, the 23-year-old threw a metal bucket at Melbourne City goalkeeper Thomas Glover during a violent mass pitch invasion at Amy Park.
Anything you would like to say that it would indicate your remorse in any way?
Dubbed Bucket Man, Alex Angelopoulos pleaded guilty to charges including violent disorder. He was given a 3-month jail sentence, then bail, because he plans to appeal. He was among supporters protesting the decision to host the A-League Grand Finals in Sydney. But the magistrate said he and his cohort have stained the very fabric of football in Australia.
Why are you appealing against this? On what basis?
Thomas Glover suffered permanent injuries. He remains somewhat fearful and anxious in public. The court was told Alex Angelopoulos stayed on the pitch after the attack and showed no regard for the well-being of the injured goalie.
Is there anything you'd like to say to Mr Glover publicly?
I'm in prison.
But Angelopoulos' lawyer argued his client has shown genuine remorse and undertaken rehab for drugs.
Among the conditions of his sentence and his bail, Alex Angelopoulos has been banned from attending all professional and semi-professional soccer matches in Victoria for 5 years. He's also been banned from attending Amy Park.
The appeal will go to court in December. Cameron Bowe, 7 News.
A fruit and vegetable shop in Melbourne's north has been torched in the latest firebomb attack across the city. A car with an LPG tank in the back reversed into the Hadfield store shortly before it burst into flames this morning.
There was a really big fire and sirens coming from every direction.
The shop also sells tobacco, but police cannot confirm if the fire is linked to a string of recent tobacco shop fire bombings. Victoria's debt levels are set to soar even higher than predicted by the Andrews government. A top global credit agency is estimating it will hit $226 billion, $60 billion more than forecast in the state budget just months ago.
Victoria's debt is expected to balloon out further than the government predicts. Global credit agency Moody's estimates that in 3 years, state debt will be $226 billion, $64 billion more than the net debt forecast in the May state budget. That's $80,000 debt for every Victorian household.
We have a net debt that is bigger than New South Wales, Queensland and Tasmania combined.
Moody's analysts used a whole-of-government approach, including statutory bodies such as water authorities, the TAC and the state's insurer.
And as I understand it, Moody's on that report have used a different accounting method to what is used and has been used for a long time now in the budget processes.
As for what method is better,
Moody's for sure. You've always got to look at the whole picture.
They're all part of it. It's all what we have to pay for.
By international standards, Victoria has far less debt than many other countries. But compared to other Australian states in a volatile world, it has far less wriggle room to endure future economic shocks.
$15 million a day, each and every day, just to service that debt.
That could end up costing Victorian households.
Some combination of taxes going up, spending going down, or charges to families for using stuff will have to go up more in Victoria than you would see elsewhere.
Emma O'Sullivan, 7 News.
2 children were among 3 people trapped in their car after a crash during the morning peak in Melbourne's west. They collided with a truck just after 7:30 on Greggs Road in Strathtulla. The woman driving the car and the 2 children were all taken to hospital with non-life-threatening injuries. A 27-year-old woman driving the truck was also hospitalised with serious injuries. Australia's politicians have just scored their biggest pay rise in a decade. The wage hike is decided by an independent review, but the timing couldn't be worse as families battle a cost of living crunch.
The main attraction drawing a big crowd at the West Australian newspaper's Leadership Matters Forum.
It's a great privilege and a great honour to be elected Prime Minister of this magnificent country.
A privilege that now comes with a $22,500 pay rise. The Remuneration Tribunal today awarding federal politicians a 4% rise, more than the 3.8% average pay rise, and the largest for MPs in a decade after no increase in 4 of the past 10 years.
The Remuneration Tribunal decide all of these things at arm's length from politicians, and that's as it should be.
The Prime Minister's salary jumping to $587,000. His deputy, Richard Marles, a $16,000 jump to $433,000. Opposition leader Peter Dutton now on $418,000. A backbencher's salary up $9,000 to $226,000. The pay rise flowing on to senior bureaucrats and judges. With inflation running at 6%, it is effectively a real wage cut. But it means the lowliest backbencher in this place is now paid almost 3 times the average Australian wage.
I don't think it is fair.
They should give us all a pay rise if they're going to do that. I think we all deserve a pay rise.
It's not very good timing as it doesn't look very good, but it's not in their hands. It's an independent tribunal.
Something for the Prime Minister to chew on.
I have no role in any of these processes.
Although it does put a bit of cream on top. Mark Riley, 7 News.
A powerful earthquake has rocked parts of Indonesia, including Bali, where tourists were shaken from their beds just before 4 a.m. local time. The magnitude 7 quake was so deep it didn't cause significant damage, but it was felt 300 kilometres away. It was followed by 2 significant aftershocks. There are calls for New Zealand to join Australia as our 7th state. Former Deputy Prime Minister Barnaby Joyce is one of the backers, saying it makes sense to unite our military and economic powers, but the Kiwis aren't so sure.
Side by side in geography and history, Anzac, brothers in arms, now calls to get even closer.
Will we ever become one country? New Zealanders shouldn't rule that out.
Retiring New Zealand MP Jamie Strange.
There would certainly be economic benefits, economies of scale in the private and public sector, opening Aldi stores on our shores.
Today backed by Barnaby Joyce, who 5 years ago found out he was a Kiwi.
Why we've got 2 defence forces, 2 different monetary policies. They should be the single policy. We might even win a rugby game. That would be great. We might win 1 rugby game.
That Australia's constitution still lists among the states New Zealand, a standing invitation to join.
Well, this isn't the first time that Barnaby Joyce has been confused about Australia and New Zealand being different countries.
The Crown once considered it part of New South Wales. Today we drive on the same side, have monarchs on our money, speak the same language, sort of. We're both big on the Southern Cross, flightless birds and, well, sheep. Both claim pavlova and Russell Crowe. Across the ditch, Mr Strange got this look from his fellow MPs.
It's a somewhat strange idea, and it's one of the few areas where I disagree with Jamie Strange.
No, there is no way in hell we're joining Australia.
I like to be independent. I think we're very different.
Their anti-nuclear stance, another deal breaker, not to mention this. Paul Kadak, 7 News.
The blockbuster AFL final between Collingwood and Melbourne is officially a sellout after a frantic race for tickets. Christy Cooper has more. And Christy, it's been an anxious day for footy fans.
It really has, Mitch, and these tickets haven't been easy to get. Many fans have had a frustrating day trying to get through to the website. The latest release to the general public was at 3 p.m. Those tickets were all snapped up within less than an hour. The next rush begins tomorrow when Carlton, St Kilda Giants and Sydney fans will have their chance to secure finals tickets. Mitch? A small but mighty collection of die-hard pies and demons desperate for a slice of finals action.
We got here at 3 o'clock in the morning, first in line. We've been doing this for years.
Jumping out of our skins. I've actually just got off the phone with my mum and we've been supporting Melbourne for 100 years.
Big final, MCG, Melbourne versus Collingwood. That's what dreams are made of, isn't it?
Many didn't trust the website, perhaps rightly so. Reserved MCC tickets sold out within 49 minutes. AFL Reserve soon after. Plenty who logged on right on time missed out due to website glitches.
Came back and said, there was a problem. Basically, when I selected something, there was nothing available.
The internet always crashes, so that's why we're here.
Virginia Baldwin had no choice.
Disabled people can't use the internet. We actually have to fill in a form and then you might get a call maybe that day.
While thousands were left empty-handed, there was victory for the early risers.
Yeah, I've got the tickets.
And now the countdown to Thursday's qualifying final between two of Melbourne's fiercest rivals.
It's going to be intense, let's put it that way. We know that the Collingwood crowd come with their ferocity, and I think the Demon fans are going to come and bite back a little bit.
It's a stressful time for us members.
Christy Cooper, 7 News.
Stressful indeed. Tim Watson's here with a look ahead to sport. And Tim, there's huge interest in the future of a midfield star.
There is. Mitch Bailey-Smith is a man in demand and checked in at Whitten Oval for his exit meeting. We'll hear from the Dogs camp shortly. Also, we'll speak to the Tigers champion who's jumped on the Suns bandwagon. The Obamas with front row seats as Novak Djokovic ends his US Open exile. And, Mitch, we go one-on-one with the man tipped to win the AFL's Rising Star. I'll see you again soon.
OK, Tim, thanks very much. A Melbourne dad has just received news that could save his life after a long battle for help. We'll have the details next. Also coming up, the bitter fight to force Qantas to repay lost airfares. The tax grab doctors say will trigger a GP exodus out of Melbourne. A soccer mum in a bizarre twist over a controversial World Cup kiss. And later, families left for months without cash in a parental leave storm. Centrelink under fire. Victorian patients could soon be slugged with even bigger GP bills as industry groups warn a tax grab is driving doctors out of the state. The RACGP has told the Victorian government its payroll tax will worsen the health crisis by killing off bulk billing.
The extra payroll tax on GPs means that patients are going to have to pay more. 4 out of 5 general practices will have to put up their fees.
Victorian GPs are calling on the Premier to follow other states and scrap the tax audit. One of the country's biggest airlines thinks fares should drop by as much as 40% if Qantas and the federal government allow increased competition. Qatar has been blocked from adding more flights into Australia.
Yesterday, Alan Joyce copped it from senators. Today, from Virgin Australia's boss.
That's just super surprising and very disappointing if that was the case.
Angered by revelations, the government blocked more Qatar Airways flights to protect Qantas.
Thanks, mate.
Saying the 28 extra flights a week could see fares plummet.
I'd guess that would be a reduction of at least a third, maybe 40% reduction.
We know that if you increase competition, you decrease prices.
Well, it's not up to me. It's up to the Transport Minister has made the decision. But there are decisions like this all the time.
Anger too over revelations Qantas still has over $500 million in flight credits, $15,000 of those being chased by this couple.
It's a lot of money.
Yeah, it is a lot of money, particularly for my parents who are in their mid-70s.
An 18-month saga.
Being passed from one person to another person to another person. Blame's been shifted all the time.
From Mr Joyce.
80% of credits are being refunded within 2 days.
Could you repeat that for me?
Consumer advocate Adam Gleeser said refunds are taking months.
It should not be this difficult. It should be a seamless exercise.
Qantas claims it is.
Let me walk you through our Qantas.com how-to guide.
Online videos, the 131313 hotline, the website, go to fly, manage booking, flight credit, enter your booking reference, surname and follow the prompts. The deadline for customers to use or claim those credits, though, is this December. After that, whatever's left of the $500 million will be held by Qantas, presumably going straight into next year's profit results.
Thank you for your continued support.
Chris Reason, 7 News.
A Melbourne father is heading to the US for potentially life-saving treatment after a backflip from the federal government. The $1 million lifeline from Canberra giving hope to all patients of the blood cancer myeloma.
Twice, the federal government knocked back Jeff Nison's plea for life-saving treatment in America. But today, his appeal to Chief Health Officer Paul Kelly succeeded.
It's not every day you receive a call to let you know you're going to get therapy that's going to extend your life. So just blown away.
We are not give up hope kind of people. we are persistent.
So now Canberra will pay for Jeff's revolutionary CAR T cell treatment in this Seattle hospital, costing more than $1 million.
My initial reaction was joy, and I burst into tears.
I know it's been incredibly stressful, but all of us are hoping that you have the best possible course of treatment in America.
In Australia, CAR T cell therapy is not yet approved for Jeff's rare strain of the blood cancer myeloma. If the father of two did not get this treatment,
he'd be pretty lucky to get to Christmas.
But now
he's got a 75% chance of being alive and free of disease in 3 years' time. And there is the potential for cure.
A boost for all myeloma patients like legendary sports broadcaster Sandy Roberts.
I think it gave all of us hope. It was just a fantastic lift.
Jeff is hopefully the first of very many patients whose lives are going to be saved.
Devastation is somewhat subsiding right now because it's being replaced by excitement and hope.
Nick McCallum, 7 News.
The fallout over an uninvited kiss at soccer's World Cup final has taken a bizarre turn. The mother of Spanish football president Luis Rubiales is now going on a hunger strike, locking herself inside a church, protesting against what she calls an inhumane, bloodthirsty witch hunt. Rubiales has been suspended by FIFA while an investigation into possible sexual assault charges is underway. Innocent families are living in fear in the suburbs and pleading for help to stop the violence on their doorsteps. Also coming up on 7 News, an emergency rescue turns to tragedy. A shock discovery for brain surgeons, how a living worm triggered a woman's 16-month medical ordeal. And how an airline meltdown is causing chaos across the world. In breaking news, incoming Reserve Bank Governor Michelle Bullock has had her first public speech since accepting the role crashed by protesters in Canberra.
240,000 people need to lose their jobs at your hands. We reckon you should go first.
They were calling for taxes on the rich to fix the housing crisis and for an increase to job seeker payments. Families in Melbourne's west are pleading for extra police patrols to deal with violent crime. Their calls have been sparked by a terrifying gang attack that saw a man bashed and stabbed in front of children.
A daytime ambush in the middle of a family neighbourhood. This blue Holden sedan forced a hatchback to crash before a gang unleashed a savage attack. From the left of the screen, a thug from another car runs to join in, helping drag a man from the hatchback, stabbing and bashing him.
It doesn't make us feel safe here.
It's very scary and concerning.
The Sunday afternoon attack happened in front of shocked children. Local families fed up.
Especially my little one walking on the streets, it's not safe.
They're pleading for more help from authorities.
Request more patrolling from the police in this area, if that could help.
We need more security in this area so that we live in a safer place.
The concern from residents is not unfounded. Police data shows crime is on the rise in every area of Wyndham. There were nearly 14,000 criminal incidents last year, 15% higher than the previous year. Theft from cars has risen by 24%. Criminal damage is up 25% and common assault up 40%.
My wife and me had a discussion last night. We still feel really unsafe at the moment.
Police say they are investigating. The victim and the gang are known to one another. Cassie Zervos, 7 News.
A medical rescue helicopter has crashed into an apartment building in the US with tragic consequences. It was taking part in an emergency operation when the tail caught fire.
Flying to a traffic accident, they were racing to save lives one moment, the next fighting to save their own.
A fire broke out on board. They did their very best, from my understanding now, to try to extinguish that fire.
Barely 200 metres above ground.
Guys, we're having mechanical issues. We're headed back to our station.
The Florida rescue helicopter breaks up mid-air, enters a chilling spiral and slams into a single-storey apartment block. Killed this 50-year-old paramedic, well known in the Fort Lauderdale area.
My current position is to provide the highest level of pre-hospital care.
Also killed an unnamed woman in the apartment. The pilot and a second paramedic managed an astonishing escape, seen here crawling from the roof of the building and to safety, shaken but otherwise unhurt.
Fortunately, they were able to, crawl themselves out to safety. They both are in the hospital right now.
As are 2 more people on the ground, caught as the chopper hit. All 4 expected to recover. The aircraft, a dual-engine Eurocopter like this, with a strong safety record, is now the focus of an air accident investigation. In the United States, Tim Lester, 7 News.
A computer glitch grounded 500 flights across the UK and sparked travel chaos around the world. Its systems crashed for hours, leaving travellers in limbo. The ripple effect to flights is expected to be felt for days. Australian surgeons have made a world-first discovery inside the brain of a 64-year-old woman. She'd been suffering months of unexplained illness when they found an 8-centimetre-long worm.
This is the picture causing a medical stir and grossing people out around the world. An 8-centimetre-long roundworm pulled from a 64-year-old woman's brain.
Obviously, this is a very gross story, quite revolting and not very nice. So you have to feel sorry for the poor patient in whose brain this was found.
The carrier from rural New South Wales came to doctors in 2021 with pneumonia symptoms. In 2022, brain scans were taken when she started suffering depression and forgetfulness. Highlighted here, abnormalities doctors thought was a tumour.
I pulled it out and I thought, gosh, what is that? It's moving, take it out of my hands.
They popped it in a pot.
It was happily moving, quite vigorously.
And called their science friends.
It was one of those things that was mind-blowing.
Their investigation revealed the worm grew inside the woman for months, and she'd picked up the parasite from python poo, which had contaminated a bunch of warrigal greens she'd foraged and eaten.
It's a really unusual story, and it's obviously the first that we know of.
As we, as a burgeoning human population, continue to encroach on natural animal habitats, we will see more of these types of infections.
They say, thankfully, this one's not contagious and the carrier on the mend no longer has parasites on her mind. Tom Hartley, 7 News.
3AW broadcaster Neil Mitchell has surged up 3% in Melbourne's latest radio ratings, despite speculation he's considering stepping down. Every 3AW program increased, except Afternoons, which came in 4th and is yet to announce a replacement for DD Dunleavy. In the FM breakfast battle, Fox FM's Fifi, Fev and Nick have overtaken Gold FM's Christian O'Connell. Centrelink is in the firing line over a parental leave storm, leaving families without cash for months The details are next on 7 News. Also ahead, the once-a-day wonder pill hailed a cancer game changer. Mother Nature makes a splash with an electric blue sea spectacular. And the CSIRO diet joining the ready-made meal revolution. That's just before the weather. Two news just in, and Melbourne City councillors have voted unanimously on a proposal to crack down on Airbnbs to deal with the housing crisis. It includes a cap on short-stay accommodation of 180 nights a year, as well as charging landlords an annual fee of $350. It will now go out for public consultation. Lord Mayor Sally Capp says the proposed changes won't damage tourism in the city. A new daily cancer pill is being hailed a game changer by medical experts after a statewide trial. The medication, called Divarasib, stops tumour cells from multiplying by switching off a common cancer-causing protein.
In over 50% of patients with lung cancer, they had a significant shrinkage of their cancer, and in about 30% of patients with bowel cancer, they had a shrinkage of their cancer as well.
It's hoped the drug will become widely available in Australia within the next 2 years. Taking a look at finance now, and the ASX 200 has closed 50 points higher thanks to a strong rally from mining stocks, hoping for more economic stimulus out of China. One Australian dollar is currently buying 64.38 US cents. Melbourne mothers are in financial limbo, with some waiting 3 months for parental leave payments. They're calling for a system overhaul as Services Australia concedes Centrelink is struggling to keep up with surging demand.
Katie McMahon is savouring every precious moment with her newborn daughter Darcy, but it's been a rocky start accessing parental leave payments for the first-time mum.
It's pressure that's not needed. And you don't want to have to be worrying about money trying to care for a brand new baby. You want to be able to enjoy that time.
Ms McMahon's joining a growing chorus of Melbourne mums left frustrated by lengthy delays.
Some are really lucky and get it really quickly. Others can take weeks, months. There's people in there apparently that are, 5 months in.
As of July 1, eligible parents can access just under $900 a week for up to 20 weeks, but they're told to apply up to 3 months in advance to receive the payment on time. Warrnambool mum Molly Lee has been waiting 3 months for the cash to hit her bank account, a financial burden only adding to the stress of raising a family.
I'll get a back pay for what I missed. But that's also being taxed at 15%.
When Molly went to visit her local Centrelink, she was told staffing shortages were to blame for the delays.
I just think the excuses probably just need to stop and something needs to be done.
Services Australia says it's experiencing a high volume of claims since the eligibility criteria expanded, and it's encouraging parents to claim online early where possible.
If it's simplified and the process and the procedure and the information you're giving new parents is correct, there may not be such a backlog.
Ainsley Kosh, 7 News.
Elton John has spent the night in hospital after falling and injuring himself at his French villa. The 76-year-old was treated for minor injuries at an orthopaedic hospital in Monaco. He's now recovering at home. Mother Nature is putting on a spectacular show in South Australia, turning Port Lincoln Beach electric blue. It's caused by a bioluminescent algae and is drawing large crowds to the town's foreshore. The fluorescent display occurs when the algae are disturbed by movement, such as a breaking wave or a splash, causing them to light up. Sport is next with Tim Watson. And Tim, a Demon star isn't in the clear just yet.
Mitch, not yet, no. He's crucial to Melbourne's premiership hopes too. We'll tell you his chances of facing the Magpies next. Also ahead, why Bailey Smith isn't the only dog facing a clouded future. We'll catch up with the Tigers champion following in Damien Hardwick's footsteps. 2 youngsters on the road to recovery. Hear from the Rising Star favourite next. And the Aussies' emotional return as Novak Djokovic gets presidential treatment at Flushing Meadows. Welcome back. Bailey Smith's future was a hot topic at Whitten Oval today. Bulldog teammates are confident he'll stay as rival clubs circle.
A top dog heading to exit talks amid talks of a controversial exit from Whitten Oval.
That'll play out, but I've got no doubt he will, be in the red, white and blue next season and beyond.
Fighting off interest from Hawthorn and Geelong, Dogs officials left today confident the 22-year-old would see out his contract until the end of 2024. Players arrived for a post-mortem of a disappointing season, a plea from their captain to fans.
Stick with us. There's been frustration, but we've got to look to the future with optimism.
Despite speculation of a move to Queensland, Adam Treloar confirmed his loyalty to the Dogs.
I want to finish my career here and hopefully it's another, 3 to 5 years. That'd be nice.
At St Kilda, Jade Gresham is yet to make a decision on his future, out of contract and a free agent, but the finals campaign is a focus first.
Been around our club for a long time now and one of my close mates, so I want him to stay.
A potential premiership, a tantalising prospect. The Saints have been bolstered by the return of Max King, who trained fully, and 3 potential All-Australians in red-hot form. St Kilda has played finals just twice in the last 12 years. Ross Lyon sharing his advice to the side.
One message Ross sort of made after the Brisbane game on the weekend is just to enjoy the next couple of weeks and what it brings, because you don't know when or if you're going to experience it all again.
Laura Spurway, 7 News.
Melbourne's match winner Bailey Fritsch is in a race against time for the blockbuster finals opener against the Pies. Mitch Cleary has the latest amidst the star forward isn't out of the woods just yet.
Well, Tim Fritsch will be stuck in a moon boot in coming days, managing that troublesome left foot he tweaked against Sydney. While scans have cleared him of major damage, he's expected to train off legs until away from teammates until at least Monday before ramping up his program, pushing for Thursday night. Nick Dacos increasing his finals bid with gym work for his knee, but still seen as unlikely for that D's clash in 9 days' time. Last year's rising star about to see a new teenager crowned.
Gym rehab in Bayside, Melbourne, a long way from where this caged lion wanted to be in August.
It's been pretty hard for me to wrap my head around that, and I think, it'll still be difficult for me to watch this finals campaign.
3 leg sessions a week, split between his home state and Queensland, 1 month on from ACL surgery.
I'm going to do everything in my power to get back physically and mentally. It's a great test of my character, I think, so early in my career.
Plans for rehab in the US come November, and extra work on his app Wash. But first, tomorrow's rising star, seen by many as a race in 2 with junior teammate Harry Sheasel. His stellar 19 games, including a goal of the year fancy.
Ashcroft out of midair. Oh, you are kidding me!
Fueling a return inside 12 months.
Everyone at the club and the surgeon are trying to restrict me a bit, to say don't worry too much about the end goal, which is true. But I can't say I haven't done that.
Lion Dev Robertson's now famous ripped jumper heading to auction, raising money for breast cancer research. Mitch Cleary, 7 News.
There's set to be big changes at Tigerland this off-season. Kate Massey is at Spring Racing's Carnival launch, and Kate, the horse has bolted for Jack Revolt.
Tim, he's got plenty of time on his hands now after his retirement. He'll be using his 3 horses that he's part owner in to keep himself busy this spring. He's spoken to us tonight about what his future looks like, if he's been contacted by his former coach Damien Hardwick on a move to the Gold Coast, as well as what he thinks Dustin Martin's next year holds, and all the details from Mad Monday, where he was kitted out in Suns gear.
No, it was a bit of fun, just poking a little bit of fun at obviously Dimmer, who's now up there coaching the Gold Coast, and he quoted in saying he'd cooked the sausages 1,000 times at the Tigers. My skin complexion doesn't go well in the sun, hence being a Tasmanian, so I'll be staying here in Melbourne. Oh, he's contracted, and you've only got to watch that last game of footy that he played. I mean, he's arguably the best player on the ground at half-time to know that he's engaged in playing good football for Richmond, so we look forward to seeing him run out there. I'll be a supporter next year when we watch him run out.
Jack Rewalt's horse Solcombe has nominated for the Melbourne Cup, but all the action will kick off this weekend at Caulfield, Tim.
Thanks, Kate. Novak Djokovic's anti-vax exile from the US Open is over. He made light work of Frenchman Alexander Muller in the opening round in New York, much to the delight of the Obamas as he reclaimed the world #1 ranking.
To come in front of you guys is always a pleasure and an honour to play here in Arthur Ashe.
3 of 7 Aussies won opening matches, including Ayla Tomljanovic in her first match after knee surgery, and Rinky Hichikata, who will break into the top 100 for the first time. Superstar golfer Cameron Smith will return home to defend his Australian PGA title at Royal Queensland. Smith has won twice on the Live Tour this year and will also hunt a maiden Australian Open title in Sydney.
I feel like it's been right there for me a bunch of times and I haven't really taken advantage of it. Yeah, hopefully win convincingly would be nice.
The world number 11 still has 3 live tournaments left to finish the season, Mitch, and that ends a very busy day in sport.
Yes, indeed. Thank you very much, Tim. The CSIRO is muscling in on the ready-made meal revolution with a new Wonder Diet. The details are next on 7 News. Also, Sonia Marinelli with the weather details. Sonia, showers, but they didn't amount to much.
Less than a millimetre in the end, Mitch, but we are expecting more showers tomorrow. The full forecast coming up soon.
Tonight, a pulse check on the Voice youth vote ahead of tomorrow's big referendum date reveal. The confronting reality of our rental mess, an inquiry hearing desperate stories about to go to Canberra. Plus, gas plant strikes that put a big dent in the supply of LNG and drive up prices. The latest from 7 News at 11:20.
The CSIRO's Wonder Diet is joining the ready-made meal revolution. Top scientists have helped put the meals together, designed to help shed weight and beat type 2 diabetes.
Fresh off the production line, convenient, ready to eat and scientifically proven to work wonders.
Could actually put type 2 diabetes into remission.
We've seen the results ourselves in our clinical trials.
Dietitian Penny Taylor is co-author of the CSIRO's best-selling low-carb diet, an evidence-based eating plan to help people with type 2 diabetes regain control of their weight and blood glucose.
So we had these requests like, can we see them in meals?
Now they can. The CSIRO's partnered with an Australian manufacturer to whip up the mad foodies.
We were given some extremely strict guidelines to follow.
A microwave-ready range, high in protein and healthy fats. At $10 each, there's even one for vegans.
They know that they don't have to cook and prepare meals in a busy lifestyle. They can just grab one of these off the shelf and be okay.
But on the shelf, there'll be competition. The ready-to-eat food industry is growing by the day.
In Australia, it's worth $800 million a year. For the last 5 years, it's been growing at about 3.5% per annum.
In the chilled space, this is the first scientific-based ready meal to hit Australia.
The food market at IKEA is the first to introduce the Mad Foodies packs, but it's hoped that by the end of the year, they'll be available across a range of independent supermarkets.
Making it easy for the population to achieve healthy eating.
Gertie Sperling, 7 News.
Now here's Sonia with the weather.
Thanks, Mitch. There's been showers around all day, but they've been hit and miss. Here in the city, we've only picked up 0.2 of a millimetre so far, but there's more coming tomorrow. So here's a breakdown of what we're tracking tonight. Our last cold front of the season is closing in, bringing more wet and gusty conditions tonight. And then tomorrow will also be hit with a cold wind change. Despite today's gloomy skies, we managed a top of 18 degrees, the temperature pushed along by gusty northerly winds. They hit 72 kilometres an hour at the airport this afternoon and are forecast to strengthen tonight over the northern suburbs. And also tonight there could be a slight risk of a storm. As for the showers, it looks dramatic on the radar today, but not much of this made it to the ground. We've had less than a millimetre for Metro Melbourne and just 2 around the Dandenongs. In fact, falls have been light right across the state. That's despite waves of showers moving in and another round of thunderstorms that fired up in East Gippsland. Areas near the Central Ranges copped the strongest of those northerly winds. Now we'll continue to get gusty winds and showers here in the city tonight with an overnight low of 13 degrees. Now the actual front itself reaches Western Victoria early tomorrow and then it tracks across the state bringing more showers and in behind it that cold southwesterly wind change. So Victoria showers continue tomorrow but start to ease degrees from the west in the afternoon, with a possible rumble of thunder near the Otways and again in the east. And expect Wednesday to turn colder as that southwesterly wind change whips across the state. It is a wet Wednesday across the suburbs with up to 10 millimetres in showers forecast. We start the day in the double digits, but we'll stop warming in the mid-teens once that cold wind kicks in late morning. So a few showers around in the city tomorrow, an early top of 15 degrees. Looking ahead, and on Thursday, the last day of winter, we're expecting showers, a top of 16, and then a cloudy and 15 degrees for the first day of spring. But after that, plenty of sunshine and a weekend warm-up. We're up to 17 on Saturday, 21 on Sunday, 23 by Monday. So just a few cool days to get through. Tomorrow showers, a top of 15. But how good is that weekend looking, Mitch?
And
so
that 23
good.
stands out too. Thank you very much indeed, Sonia. And that's the way it is this Tuesday, the 29th of August. Thanks for your company. For now, from the 7 News team, good night.
Stream 7 News anytime, live and on demand on 7 Plus and with 7news.com.au. You'll know the news now.